Welcome back to the story. The U.S. Embassy in Kiev today warning American citizens about unusual Russian military activity near the Ukraine border. The Biden administration is now considering sending military advisors and extra weaponry to the country. Fears really ramping up that Russia may be planning an incursion into that country. Let's bring in retired Colonel Daniel Davis. He served 21 years in the Army, deploying into combat zones 4 times during his career. He is now a senior fellow and military expert for defense priorities. Colonel, thanks so much for your time today. So you say, you bet. So you say that the Biden administration's #1 responsibility here is to sort of make sure that they don't cause any harm, that they don't do anything to escalate the tension here. What does that look like? What are their real sort of options on the ground?
Right now, the absolute overriding priority needs to be the preservation of U.S. national security and our economic interests throughout Europe. Because what we can't do is to see all these things that Jennifer Griffin just talked about that are indeed happening. And there are 100,000 troops on their border. Putin does have a history of limited military incursions into bordering states. So there's legitimate reason to be concerned. But what we have to avoid is inflaming that further and potentially getting sucked into a war that is not of our making, that we have no security interest in, because that could be catastrophic for our interests. So we want to limit it, but we don't want to exacerbate it.
What are U.S. interests here? I mean, we've heard some people argue that Ukraine is not officially a member of NATO, so we are not obligated by treaty to jump in to defend them. What are our specific interests? Why is it in our interest to get involved?
Yeah, and I'll just flat out tell you it's in our interest not to get involved, because we don't have any security interest at stake, meaning that even if the worst case scenario happened and Russia took Ukraine, we're still not threatened, because we will still be able to deter them from anything else. Because consider that right now, Ukraine has no defense treaty obligations with anyone. So this will remain a bilateral issue between those two. But right on the other side of Ukraine are 4 NATO countries that are all backed by Article 5 guarantees and the U.S. nuclear umbrella. Russia knows that. They would never try to go in beyond that, because they know it would be just suicide for them to do so. So we want to prevent him from going any further. But look, what we have to recognize is sometimes the Russians will make decisions that we don't think are rational, but are rational to them, and that they may risk potential near-term problems with the U.S. and NATO to secure their national interests on their borders. And Putin has been very clear he feels that way.
Take a quick listen to Ned Price, State Department spokesperson.
We have underscored our rock-solid commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, to Ukraine's security. And we've also made clear, both with our allies and with the Russian Federation, that any escalatory or aggressive moves by Russia would be of great concern to the United States.
So that's the official line, very much in keeping with what you just laid out. Tell us what's going on behind the scenes. What is Tony Blinken and Defense Secretary General Austin saying to their counterparts offline?
Well, I certainly can't. I don't have any inside information of what they're saying, but I sure can tell you what I hope they're saying. I hope that they're saying, hey, we will take lots of non-kinetic action against you, that your interests will not be solved by taking any parts of Ukraine. But, you know, if you move anything beyond that, then we have treaty obligations. You can be sure we're going to be meeting those treaty obligations, because if they went beyond that, then it would be in our national security interest. So they want to make absolutely clear there's no room for misinterpretation from Moscow. But this is a tough situation, and we may not be able to keep Putin from moving.
All right, Colonel Davis, thanks so much. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Thanks, and same to you.
You bet.